Hey there, future economists. If you're gearing up for your IGNU exams, you know some topics are just non-negotiable. Well, today, we're going to break down one of the absolute cornerstones of microeconomics, the theory of demand. We're going to tackle it step by step so you'll be more than ready to ace that paper.
I want you to picture this. You're at the college canteen. You've got just enough cash in your pocket for a snack. You look at the menu. Samosa or vada pav? How do you make that call? Believe it or not, that simple, everyday choice is the very heart of what we're studying today, how we, as rational consumers, make decisions to get the most satisfaction possible.
Okay, so here's our game plan for today. We're going to build this theory up from the ground floor, starting with the basic setup, getting into the rules of how we choose, and then we'll look at wants versus our budget. From there, we'll dive into the two big quests, maximizing our satisfaction and minimizing our spending, before we finally put it all together with the powerful Slutsky equation. Let's do this!
All right, first things first, let's set the scene. The modern approach to this whole thing is a little different than you might think. We don't try to put a number on happiness, like, I'm feeling a 7.5 out of 10 today. No. Instead, we just rank our preferences. This is what we call the ordinal approach.
Okay, so this entire theory, everything we're about to discuss, it all hinges on one huge assumption, that consumers are rational. Now, what does that even mean? It doesn't mean you're a supercomputer or a math genius. It simply means you're always trying to maximize your utility, your satisfaction, by picking the best possible option available to you. You're trying to make the best choice for yourself.
So what does it really mean to be rational in the world of economics? Well, it all comes down to your choices following a few really logical rules. We call them axioms. These three rules are the absolute bedrock of the theory. First, completeness. This just means you can always make up your mind. If I offer you a cup of chai or a cup of coffee, you can always decide which one you prefer, or if you truly don't care. Second, transitivity. This one's all about being consistent. If you prefer chai over coffee and coffee over juice, it's a no-brainer that you have to prefer chai over juice. Your preferences can't go in circles. And finally, reflexivity. This sounds super academic, but it's kind of obvious. It just says any bundle is at least as good as itself. A cup of chai is as good as a cup of chai. Simple, right? But it's a necessary building block for the logic.
And listen, for the exam, you have got to remember these. So here's a super simple mnemonic for you. Consumers think rationally. CTR, boom. Completeness, transitivity, and reflexivity. Got it? Good.
All right, on to section 3. So every single one of us faces this fundamental conflict, right? We have unlimited wants, but a very limited wallet. Economics gives us two fantastic tools to visualize this exact struggle.
So on one hand, you've got the indifference curve. Think of this as your wish list. It shows all the different combinations of things, let's say mobile data packs and street food, that give you the exact same level of happiness. You're indifferent between any of the points on that curve. But then, reality hits, and that's your budget set. This shows what you can actually afford with the income you have and the prices you face.
Okay, time for quest number 1, maximizing utility. This brings us to the consumer's first big mission. We call it the utility maximization problem, or UMP for short. And the goal is simple: squeeze the absolute most happiness you can out of that limited budget. And the solution to this quest? It has a fancy name, the Walrasian demand function, but don't let that name scare you. This is simply the ordinary demand curve you probably already know about. It's a one that shows how much of something you'll buy as its price changes or as your income changes. So where does the magic happen? Where is the optimal choice? It's at the exact point where your budget line just gently touches the highest possible indifference curve you can reach. At that precise spot, the rate at which you are willing to trade one good for another, that's the marginal rate of substitution, is perfectly equal to the rate the market forces you to trade, which is simply the ratio of the prices. But that's not the only way to look at it. Let's get to our second quest, minimizing expenditure. Now, we flipped the problem on its head. What if your goal wasn't to maximize happiness, but to reach a specific level of happiness by spending the absolute least amount of money? Well, that's the expenditure minimization problem, or EMP. The solution to this quest gives us something different. It's called the Hicksian demand function. And please pay close attention here. This is a classic exam question. Hicksian demand is special because it isolates only the substitution effect. It's a bit theoretical. It answers the question, how would my choice change if prices changed, but I was magically compensated to stay just as happy as I was before?
And this table right here, this lays out the differences perfectly. This is pure gold for your exam revision. Walrasian comes from UMP, Hicksian from EMP. For Walrasian, your utility changes with price, but for Hicksian, it's held constant. That's the compensated part. And the big one, Walrasian captures the full price effect, both substitution and income effects. Hicksian, it captures only the substitution effect. That's a huge difference.
And now, for the grand finale, it's time to connect all the dots. It turns out that maximizing utility and minimizing expenditure aren't separate things at all. They're actually two sides of the very same coin. This beautiful concept is called duality, and it leads us straight to the ultimate formula that unpacks any price change.
And here it is, the Slutsky equation. Price effect equals substitution effect plus income effect. This is not just some random formula to memorize, you guys. It's a profoundly powerful tool. It mathematically proves that any change in your buying habits when a price shifts is actually made up of two hidden components working together.
So what are these two hidden forces? First, you have the substitution effect. This is all about relative prices. When something gets cheaper, you naturally substitute towards it and away from other, now relatively more expensive things. Then you've got the income effect. This is all about your purchasing power. When a price drops, your money suddenly goes further. You feel richer, and that feeling makes you adjust your spending. Put them together, and you've explained the entire price effect.
All right, let's wrap this up with the absolute must-know takeaways for your exam. We have the rational consumer who uses those axioms to maximize utility. We use ordinal utility. We rank, we don't measure. Your wants are on an indifference curve. What you can afford is your budget set. Solving the UMP gets you Walrasian demand. Solving the EMP gets you Hicksian demand. And remember, duality connects them. Finally, the big one, the Slutsky equation, breaks the total price effect down into the substitution and income effects. You need to know these inside and out.
And that's our deep dive into the theory of demand. Seriously though, the real magic happens when you stop seeing this as just textbook theory and you start seeing it everywhere in your daily life. So I'll leave you with a challenge. Think about the last few things you bought: a coffee, a data top-up, anything. Can you spot the substitution and income effects at play? When you can do that, you'll know you've truly mastered this. Happy studying and all the best for your exams.